Hello everyone, especially to Ustaz, my friends, and anyone else that will be watching this YouTube video. My name is Petra Tatiana McAndrew, and I will be doing a presentation on Aristotle's virtue ethics. Thank you very much, and let's get straight into it. Now, since we will be talking about his theory on virtue ethics, it's important that we understand who he is. So, who is Aristotle? He was born in Greece during 384 BCE and then later died at the age of 62 at 322 BCE. He then became known as one of the greatest intellectual figures of Western history. Some of his greatest feats, apart from being a loving father, include being the creator of formal logic. He developed and theorized literary criticism, and he was a teacher to Alexander the Great and his friends in subjects such as philosophy and mathematics. Now, what is virtue? Or, what is virtue as Aristotle intended it to be? By definition, Aristotle said that virtue just means doing the right thing at the right time, in the right way, in the right amount, towards the right people. Could it be any more vague? But according to Aristotle, he said that there's no need to be specific, because as long as you are a virtuous person at heart, you will know when it is you have to do what you have to do. The performance of virtue is formed through habituation. If you consistently practice virtue, it will eventually become ingrained in you. Good people don't have to think about being good people. They simply know what's good and when. The importance of virtue is to achieve the human good, which is derived from the ability to carry out rational activities virtuously. Now, how do we define virtue? Aristotle created a means to do this called the golden mean. But he did not invent this theory per se, because there are many other teachings from the past, such as the middle way, made by Buddhist philosophy, that also explains about the same thing. The basis of it is just to find the middle ground between two extremes, much like physical exercise. An excess or lack in physical exercise can destroy one's strength. So too can virtue be destroyed by either. Aside from the 12 virtues that Aristotle had listed out, which I will be showing you guys later, he also mentioned 3 intellectual virtues and other traits. The intellectual virtues are nous, which is intelligence, episteme, which is science, and sophia, which is theoretical wisdom, which combines the two. He also went on to list other traits such as nom, sinus, phronesis, and tact, all of which Aristotle believed should be had by good individuals if you want to achieve what he called eudaimonia. Now, this is Aristotle's golden mean. You have the virtue, which is the golden mean, sitting in between two vices, the vice of deficiency and the vice of excess, much like cowardice, courage, and rashness. To give an example of this, let's say you're put in a situation where you see a frail old lady getting robbed across the street. A coward would simply run away, but a rash person would play the hero even in a situation where he knows he couldn't win. But a courage would assess the situation beforehand and then find the best route to take. For example, if the robber is someone whom you think you can overpower, then it would be the most logical solution to go and help that lady outright. However, if the robber was someone much bigger than you and looks much stronger than you putting yourself in the middle of that situation will only harm you and the lady. So it would be better in that situation for you to call the police, which is what a courageous person would do. Although it might not look like the most courageous action to take, once you assess the situation, you can see what it is you need to do, and you can act accordingly. Now, I had mentioned before the concept of eudaimonia, which is what Aristotle believes to be the aim of all human actions. But what is eudaimonia? Is it happiness? Because that is the ancient Greek definition of it. But Aristotle believed that eudaimonia is not a simple fleeting feeling such as happiness. Is it a good life? Or is it the highest good that a human can achieve? Well, Aristotle believed that eudaimonia is perfect and complete virtue. Aristotle then went on to explain the concept of eudaimonia in 2 of his books, the first being Eudemian Ethics and the second being Nicomachean Ethics. Eudemian Ethics is believed to have been published before Nicomachean Ethics, but there is no concrete proof of that. However, inside the book, when he's talking about eudaimonia, he explains it as the soul's activity in accordance with perfect or complete virtue, which, depending on one's interpretation, refers to all moral or intellectual virtues. In Nicomachean Ethics, however, he defined eudaimonia as philosophical or scientific contemplation in line with virtues of theoretical wisdom and understanding. Now, although the words for the 2 definitions are significantly different in both of his books, the similarity lies in both answers being defined as an activity or a variety of activities rather than a state that it requires the use of reason, which means that eudaimonia is something that you achieve through hardship, through habituation. It's not something that you can just, oh, I'm going to be eudaimonistic today. It does not work like that because eudaimonia requires constant application of virtue, and that is how you achieve eudaimonia. Now, why should we want to achieve eudaimonia? Aristotle said the highest good of a thing consists of the good performance of its characteristic function, and the virtue or excellence of a thing consists of whatever traits or qualities enable it to perform that function well, which means whatever you consider to be a human quality or a human good should be carried out continuously and with excellence in order for you to achieve virtue and then eudaimonia. A life of eudaimonia is a life of striving. It's a life of pushing yourself to your limits and finding success. A eudaimonistic life will be full of happiness that comes from achieving something really difficult, rather than just having it handed to you. You need to be a consistent, good person for you to have fully achieved what Aristotle described to be eudaimonia. And that concludes my very brief summary of Aristotle's virtue ethics. Are there any questions? Obviously there aren't, because I am presenting to myself in the comfort of my own bedroom to a laptop. Obviously there are no questions, Petra. Well, thank you all for your active listening and active participation. I appreciate every single one of you watching this video. Thank you very much, and that is all for me. Bye-bye!